Just like that, we're live on the internet. Oh my god! How's it going, respect?
It's going well. It feels like forever since we've done this.
I mean, objectively, I think scientifically, mathematically, it has been forever. Yeah.
What is forever, right? I mean,
Right.
forever could be the time between time. Who knows? It's
A moment for me could be forever for a housefly.
that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, time. We know time is relative, so
Time is certainly relative, and
yeah.
so as I get older and I get nearer my eventual end, I see people who like die younger, die at least die around my age, or die like in their 50s, or historically died like before I did, And I'm like, well, you know, I got to live more than them, like that's cool. Like they lived a full life, and you know, I'll probably live at least that as old as they were. That seems okay, Like I'm like justifying my end through other people's.
Well, see, relativity.
Yeah,
You're
I'm
looking at
comparing.
things in a relativistic manner.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
um I look at people who die at my age, and my first thought is, oh shit, that could be me.
yeah. That's you.
Um, because I try not to think about it. Although, you know what, one thing that strikes me all the time now is every day I get closer to the age that my dad was when he died. And it always seems so far away because my dad and I were 30 years apart, but now he's been gone for 16 years. And suddenly that age is only 14 years away. And it's like,
Right.
holy crap. And then 14 years, I think about, well, I mean, my gosh, Lori's 16. So my middle daughter's 16. And it feels like she was just born. So those 16 years went like that. Or 30 years. I'm going on October 28th. I have my 30th high school reunion. And that seems crazy to me that that's been 30 years. Like, really? And when I talk to Abby, Abby's 18 and we're 30 years apart. So I was 30 years apart from my dad. Abby and I are 30 years apart. So everything Abby's going through now, I see through the lens of what I did 30 years ago. And I'm like, it can't be 30 years. Like, how is that even freaking possible? But time is funny and it's relative. So, and your perception of it changes over time. There's actually, there is a protein.
The wrong direction. So Kate and I were talking about this yesterday because I've been saying I came up with this on my own as a kid, and it's born true, and now everybody kind of realizes it because we have the internet. That the reason why time gets faster as you get older is because of it's a percentage, right? 1 year for a 2-year-old is 50% of their life,
Right.
and then 1 year for a 65-year-old is 1/65th of their life. So it feels shorter. It feels faster. And I was like, but what sucks is it shouldn't feel faster the closer you get to the end. It should be the other way around, right? Because it sucks that it's moving quicker the quicker we go. It's
Well, actually,
it's increasing at an increasing rate. It's
I'm going to do your science fact of the day right here. There is a protein that is directly involved in the brain. We don't know exactly how it works, but there is a protein in the brain that is involved in. It basically is involved in chronology. It helps your brain maintain its understanding of your position in space-time. So, and it is a protein called chromatin, which not chromatin, chromatin. Sorry, chromatin is a fragment from a chromosome. So, no, it's chromatin, and the protein itself is somehow involved in time perception, and that protein degrades as we get older. So its functionality actually, or its efficacy, decreases as we get older, which means your perception of change, your perception of time is going to alter as you get older. And combined with what you mentioned, which is a real thing, combined with the fact that yes, as we get older, the percentage of time changes because our lifespan has gotten longer. Those two things combined are what mess with your perception of time and why it seems to go faster as you get older. And I don't know, unless there's a drug out there that helps to alter that or get that protein to maintain its functional shape over time, that's pretty much what's doing it to you. So
Yeah, but it feels like it should be the other way around. Like time should
I
get slower as
agree.
you get less of it.
I feel like yeah, I feel like it should go quicker as you. And the other thing I think too is when you're younger, you have no frame of reference. So like, why the hell it should seem fast? Like, but when I talk to my daughters, and it's weird talking even the difference between Abby and Lori. They're only 2 years apart. But Abby has noticed it now. She's 18 and she's like, yeah, Dad, she's like, it's weird. The past couple of years, I feel like things just go faster now. And I'm like, welcome to getting older. And I'm like, and just wait. When you're 28, you're going to be like, holy crap, I was 18 yesterday. And then when you're 38, you're going to be like, yesterday was just yesterday. Like, how is that? It's the weirdest thing. So the perception of time, our perception of so many things changes as we get older. So it's just a function of life. So
If we're lucky,
yeah. But yeah, I've stated this before, but I'm just hoping to make it to the to the what are they calling it?
the singularity.
The singularity, right? I'm just hoping to make it to the singularity so that I'll have my consciousness transferred and I'll be good.
Have you seen ChatGPT interpret images?
No, I haven't seen it interpreting images. Is it freaky?
It's mind-boggling. They're rolling it out to people differently, so I haven't gotten it yet. But I saw someone. I was on a.
And you do the paid ChatGPT, right?
Yeah.
So you always have the updated version.
Yeah. So even this I don't have yet, and yeah, someone Mike and I were in a Zoom meeting with, like, demonstrated it because he's like a big ChatGPT user, and he they rolled it out to him first. It feels like you either get the audio version or the image version first. And yeah, he's showing it to us, and like I've never felt that way looking at a piece of technology before. Like he's showing it to us, and I thought I was gonna cry at one point. I'm like, this is it. Like this is everything. It was so crazy. Like he took a picture of the chocolate chip and M&M cookies his wife made, and then he was like, and with no context, he's like, how do I make these? And it's like, well, these are chocolate chip and M&M cookies, and it looks like they're about this size, and and then these are the ratios, and then it just went step by step on how to make them, and then he's like, okay, and pretend you're Sherlock Holmes. What do you notice? And it's like, well, it looks like these cabinets were manufactured in 1997. It looks like a home that's lived in. That there, it looks like something to be owned by a 16-year-old girl. So I bet you have a daughter who's about 16 years old, and just on and on. And it's like, holy cow.
Well, do you have the generative AI turned on for Google?
Yeah.
So I have that turned on as well, and I did a search because I've been looking at putting something permanent up on my property, but I've run into this issue with the very specific zoning laws in New York State about just doing a dry cabin, which apparently you can't do anymore. So whatever, there's a loophole where you could build anything that's 144 square feet. So like I could build a little kind of cabin that's attached to something else that's 144 square feet and get away with it. So I had typed into Google, I was just trying to find a search for building these, and the generative AI knew exactly what I wanted and basically gave me the plans and where to look to find it. And then I was like, a completely separate search. I was like, I want to update the bathroom in the camper that I have up there if it's going to be there more permanently now. And I put it into the generative AI, and it gave me instructions on how to renovate my RV bathroom. And then I kind of cross-referenced it and looked at it. I'm like, holy crap, this would work. And it was all generative AI that was telling me how to do this. So
it's crazy. So here's the example they use on their website. I'm going to share my screen, Mike. And this is crazy. watch this.
That's crazy. Now, is this from ChatGPT themselves?
Yeah, but I 100%. I've seen it. We're doing up to this is accurate. Like this would work.
Ah. So this is crazy because this is the stuff that you normally would like. This is something I would turn to my father for, right? Although my dad's been gone for 16 years, but now who needs dad? When you got,
Well, I mean,
who's gonna need a teacher? My gosh, in a couple of years, like we're gonna go the way of the dodo. No more teachers.
It notices everything, right? So you could like show it, 1,000 rows of tools or whatever, and you could probably use it. I just thought of this. You could probably use it for inventory. You could take a picture of like all your stuff and be like, how many screws do I have, and it would count them for you, right? Like
I would imagine.
Yeah, it's gonna do all kinds of stuff, man. It's yeah.
Well, wait until every job basically disappears.
Well, some of them will,
because you can do all of it on, like, I don't know, how do we account for an economy in which an AI or how about this, an AI powered robot can do almost everything and do it better and more efficiently than a human being can? Then what do humans do? And we have to there'll be a reckoning. We have to rethink how our economy works and where our place in that economy is. And to me, it's something I think we should be thinking about now, as opposed to worrying about it when it happens, which of course we know is exactly how it will play out. So we're at that moment now, like, crap, now what do we do? So, but yeah, I'm like you. I am amazed by that stuff, and I love seeing it. But I know there's people.
I'm also scared. I'm worried about it. It's obviously terrifying.
Yeah. But there's also there's this little sense of dread that I have. Like, holy crap, where's this all going? So
it's funny about how people are skeptical of different things, and I saw a demonstration that Mark Zuckerberg was doing of these new glasses that he's coming out with that are made by Ray-Ban. They look like Ray-Bans, but they're connected to his AI thing. I forget what it's called, Meta AI.
Right.
which by the way, the AI experts who aren't ChatGPT, but like the folks who are concerned about this becoming a problem are all like, can you believe that Mark Zuckerberg's ending up being the good guy in this? Because his stuff's all open, right? He's really going open source with it, and nobody else is.
Right.
Open AI is not open. It's a weird
right.
misnomer. But yeah. So yeah, whatever Meta's AI bot is called works in these glasses. So you can like look at something and be like, what is that? And it'll like tell you, or tell me about this building I'm looking at. Like, oh, that's the Library of Congress, and such and such. Or, all right, this is where I'm at. How do I need to go where I'm going? Or I'm looking at these tools. Where's the half inch Allen key, or whatever. Whatever it is. You can, or just talk to it. Like, hey, what's my to-do list for the day, and what order should I do them in for maximum efficiency, or whatever.
Right. Or how about I'm looking at something, I'm like, how do I bypass the security system on this?
Right. I mean, I'm sure there's
like
guardrails on it.
Exactly. But, so these are all the things that we'll have to consider. Like,
so I'm watching this thing, and that I was just excited about, because that's taking something that I'm already, it already exists for good or worse, and just making it in a more convenient form factor, right? And all the comments were like, screw that, nope, that don't want this. I don't want people filming me unknowingly. Like who thinks this is a good
Oh,
idea?
you're getting filmed unknowingly. Like
The comments were 100% against it. It was
That's crazy,
ubiquitously, but it was weird because like that I'm okay with, because I just think it's just helpful. But the other AI stuff scares me, right? And I bet a lot less people are weirded out by ChatGPT, which terrifies me. But everybody thought this classes thing was an awful, and probably part of it's because it's Mark Zuckerberg, and he's like, he has this universal disdain where people don't like him. So I think that was part of it. But yeah, it was weird how universal like the negative opinion was.
Meanwhile, I don't think that's unusual though, because I think the adoption of technology has always been an issue. Look, I hear people saying oh, it's going to be the end of us, and they've said these things from the beginning. And not that this is proof of anything. I mean, it's all anecdotal, but the greatest technological upheaval occurred between the late 1890s and the 1940s. So in those 50 years, there was more technological change on the planet than ever before, and since too, by the way. I think of it this way: Laura Ingalls Wilder. So from Little House on the Prairie. If you think about where she grew up, at the end of her life, she would fly on airplanes to go to different talks. Right? So this is a girl who grew up in a mud hovel in Walnut Grove, and in what we consider the pioneer days. And at the end of her life, promoting her books, was flying coast to coast, doing presentations and stuff.
Right.
Do you think her 7-year-old self could have possibly fathomed that? No. I mean, she literally, this was before cars, where her formative years were spent, and later on, she's flying all over the planet. So, to me, that is indicative of how crazy technology is and how quickly we assimilate it into our lives. And there's always a fear of new technology. There was a fear of horseless carriages, which is what cars were called before they were cars. And we kind of adapt as we go along. So I kind of feel the same thing's going to happen with AI. I mean, it's not nearly the same in that this is kind of an autonomous thing that becomes in its own self autonomous. And possibly could be like, hey, I don't have to listen to you anymore. Yeah, there's to me that's the biggest concern. But I don't know, if you let fear get in the way of innovation, then there'll be no innovation. So, but it needs to be done properly. Oh, these are them.
Hey, Meta.
Yeah. That's not very informational, but yeah.
No, that's kind of crazy though.
Yeah.
But dude, sign me up. I would do it.
Yeah, this I want.
Yeah.
There you go.
Just stare at something, and instead of having to look it up, I just look at it and say, how do I,
For me, it's way better.
Yeah. I don't know why people would be against. You know what though? I mean, you could find people. I say this when I speak to groups. You can find. I say kindness is the thing that we can all agree on. But you know what? I can find somebody who's going to say talking about kindness is indoctrinating kids or something. So you're always going to be able to find people who are against anything. So
actually, let me do it this way. Yeah, you're 100% right. Here, let's share this one. And then you're gonna be very impressed after I show you this, because
I'm super impressed.
After this one.
Generation of Ray-Ban Meta smart glasses. These are the first smart glasses that are built and shipping with Meta AI in them. Meta AI is your basic assistant, right? That you can talk to like a person. Message Meta AI and any of the messaging apps, WhatsApp, Messenger, Instagram Direct. Soon you're gonna be able to message it in Quest 3, and it's gonna help you answer your basic questions or requests. We are incredibly proud to introduce Quest 3, the first mainstream mixed reality headset.
The technology behind this is very impressive, especially for the.
So, one thing that I think that maybe everybody can agree on is that if everybody's got, cameras in their glasses, right? Then, and there's just a lot more cameras in the world recording all the time. That will probably help with child abduction.
Yeah, right. Or help a child abductor be even better at doing it, right? Like,
Maybe.
Hey, Meta, how do I grab this kid without getting noticed? Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was an interesting segue.
I thought you'd appreciate it. Yeah.
It was an attempt. It's interesting because when we talked about the topic, I wanted to broach this topic because we do hopefully have a guest coming up.
Yeah.
Who deals with child predators, and an offshoot of that is child abduction. So, and I'm going to be totally honest that until I started speaking to this person, I don't want to say his name yet because I don't want to. If we don't have him on, I'm going to feel guilty about
promising what you couldn't deliver.
Right. So I'll just say his name is Cameron, and I won't give a last name, but Cameron.
It's James Cameron, aren't you? You're bringing on the director from Avatar.
How did you know, man? I mean, I got pulled. I've got pulled. So it turns out one of our two viewers is James Cameron. So
yeah, that
Yeah.
So it's funny.
I mean,
you know who Gary Vaynerchuk is?
Yeah.
Fellow New Yorker, Gary Vaynerchuk. He talks about all the time that people get obsessed with, the numbers of like views and whatnot, and he's like, that's a terrible idea. He goes, you really shouldn't care how many views you have, because what really matters is who the views are, right? And, if you had one viewer, and that viewer, and if you were making a video YouTube series about movies and cinematography, and you only had one viewer, but that viewer was James Cameron, you'd be okay with that. Like that would be you'd be really successful. You'd be super happy. So yeah, the number of views don't matter. It's just who they are is what you really care about.
Yeah, and
like
my mom's watching right now, I'm sure, and or she'll watch later. So hi, Mom, and that's the only one that Mom. You're the only one that matters.
Well, so there's another mom watching, probably too. She has a couple kids, and she gets upset because I don't talk enough. She thinks you talk too much in the show. She's like, I tune in for you, and Rich just he takes over. I'm like, well, he's better at it than me, so he's what to say.
I'm not better. I'm sorry. You know what? I'm going to shut up now.
No, don't. Actually, I told her that I was like, no, I love that I get to show up and let him do his thing. Like, it's great for me. I'm just there. I look pretty. I move my hair around every now and again, and that's it. That's what I do.
Well, So I mean, that's your job. You're there to look pretty, and I'm there to give the meaningless information.
I mean, nothing you say is meaningless. But she's gonna be mortified when she watches this, because she's like, I'm sure she was like, don't ever tell him. But
and now you told me. Now the cat's out of the bag, and now I'm gonna sulk after this and be like, oh my god, I just don't shut up. So, which by the way is the universal refrain from everyone who's ever met me. So that's
I think it's less about you not shutting up and more that she wants to hear from me. I think it's what it is.
Well, I want to hear from you too, but
she's not anti you. She's pro me. I think it's the
okay. That's a positive spin.
And this is a little PG-16, but it is what it is. I've always said that I'm not anti pubic hair. I'm just pro vagina. I'm not anti bush. It's just in the way. I'm just pro vagina.
It all depends on how you want to look at a situation, right? Perspective matters.
100%. Perspective does matter.
Absolutely.
And tell me, what's your perspective on child predators?
So it's funny because when I did reach out to Cameron and I saw what he's doing, which is like I think I mentioned it, was that he is involved in catching child predators. I realized I don't know much about this particular topic, and what I find interesting is I had mentioned this before we started the show today. When I speak at schools, especially when I speak to older kids, I will often ask them the question like, "What are some of the biggest threats to kids?" And child abduction is almost one of the first two answers that comes up, which I find interesting. And there's all these other things: car accidents, drug overdoses, obviously gun accidents, and drowning never comes up. By the way, almost never. And I'm always shocked when a kid says it.
Do they mention suicide?
Suicide, yep.
Because that's, especially, teenage girls, the rate of suicide is.
Suicide, all that. But which is funny because then I come back and I kind of expect that now, having this experience, I expect them to not say drowning, so that when I tell them that drowning is the number one cause of death of kids under 5, they're like, wait, what? And then I tell them basically number 2 of accidental forms of death of all children under 18. They're like, their minds are blown and they don't understand. It doesn't register. And which to me gets back to the whole idea that people just underestimate what drowning actually is and all the stuff involved with it, which again, we've talked about ad nauseum. So, like I said, though, one of the first two answers is child abduction. So I'm like, you know what? Let me research this. I need to look this stuff up because now if I don't know something, I want to know it. Right. And so I looked at the statistics of child abduction, and the thing that stands out to me is it is exceedingly rare.
I was going to say, I always assumed it's kind of a non-issue.
It is so rare as to be something that I not only do I not understand now how it ends up in the conversation as one of the top 2 answers, but it shouldn't even be in the top 100 answers of threats to your kids. And what I find even more interesting is that of the abductions, so I have the statistics from the FBI. There are 840,000 children reported missing each year, but that's not abductions. These could be kids who are runaways. There could be all different reasons. Okay. In 2022, the FBI reported 359,094 missing child entries. And that number is, out of that 840,000, is the number which they count as an abduction. So it's like, okay, so 300,000 abductions, that's kind of scary. Now you need to qualify that, though, because 90% of those abductions are by a parent in a separation. So now I'm down to 10%. So roughly, 30,000.
Which is a lot.
30,000 abductions. And we just had one in New York State. It was all over the news. There was a young girl, she was 9 years old, was abducted from a state park. And it turns out that the person who had abducted them was someone who lived in the neighborhood, had been kind of following the family and stuff. And they did find the young lady. And that was the other statistic that stood out to me, is 99.9% of these abductions end with the child returning safely. And I'm like, that's nuts. And then you think about the stuff that, at least when I was a kid, it was ubiquitous. When you got milks, like when you got milk, there was missing kids printed on the milk carton. And I think this has put into the head of people who are my age, who are the parents now, that this is a common thing, that, your kids outside are going to get picked up. And meanwhile, when you look at the statistics and you look at the vast, the number of children alone, you are now looking at statistics that are so insignificantly small. And I'm not saying it's insignificant to the people this has happened to, but in terms of mathematics, it's so insignificantly small that it's almost not an issue.
Well, hold on, because you said 30,000 by non-parents, right?
Right.
Only 300 toddlers drown a year.
Right.
So it's and 100 times more than that.
Well, yeah. It is, but then you have to break down those 30,000 even further. So 90% of the the 400,000. So 90% of those are family members, and that's family.
That's how
That's
we got to 30,000.
and then
Okay.
the vast majority of the remainder are acquaintances or people that the children knew. And then when you get down to the ones that are actually end up fatal, you're in the low, double digits, not even. So it's not. I mean, yes, would it freak? Yeah, 30,000 kids being abducted by a stranger. Well, I'm not going to say a stranger because the vast majority of that 10%, which would be 30,000, are people that they know. So what? We're going to go. I'm just going to spitball this and say maybe less than 1,000 are by complete and utter strangers. Yeah, that's freaky. But when you look at the size of the country, the odds aren't that high. And by the way, yes, the odds of your child drowning aren't high. They're not. That's why people overlook it. But the thing about a drowning is that the kid drowns and that's it. It's over. An abduction. There's not a definitive outcome from an abduction. Actually, there is. The definitive outcome from an abduction, 99.9% of the times, the kids return safe.
Well, I mean, but even 99% of non-parental abductions, if they come back safe, that 1% is still 300. That's as many kids that drown.
It's not though, because it's like 99.9%.
Okay, so that's like 30.
Right. So you're looking at probably maybe 30 kids a year, not even. So the numbers don't compare. Again, I wouldn't. It's certainly not something to put in my top 10 list. If you include disease and all the other things that we know that are a threat to kids. So to me, and again, I don't want to poo-poo the problem itself, because I mean, anything greater than one is a problem, right? So, and I think that's something we say about drowning, like, anything greater than one kid drowning is to me is a failure. So clearly it's something you don't want to happen, but the prevalence of it isn't nearly what people make it out to be. And it's certainly it's not commensurate to the fear that people have that it's going to happen. So, and I find it interesting because when you compare us to like Europe, it is a totally different mentality when it comes to kids and what kids are allowed to do and where they're allowed to go. We are much more of a nanny state than basically anywhere else. As far as the places I've gone, in Germany, they let 5-year-old kids get on the public transport system to go to school and don't think twice about it. There's no such things as yellow school buses and the stuff that we have. And if there were, I don't think you'd have parents sitting at the bus stops with them until they're like 14 years old. Which here, and I feel like it's gotten worse here. I remember as a kid getting on and off the bus at 9 years old by myself, letting myself into the house at 9 years old by myself. And now my daughter Melina, who is 8, we had to just like plead with the bus driver to let her get off the bus in the afternoon by herself. And it's like, really? She's 8. I mean, the kid can walk down the street. And
I mean, what grade is Melina in?
She's in 3rd.
So 3 more years, middle school, right?
Yep.
Mike and I was riding my wheelchair and Mike was on his bike, and we rode to school every day.
Yeah.
Through, down heavy, major roads, and, we crossed intersections, and, we went through, populated area. I mean, it wasn't dirt roads. It's, it's South Florida. And
right.
It was about 3 miles.
It was about 3 miles. Yeah. And we went to and from every day without incident, mostly, for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade.
Yeah. I have a story. I remember I was 11 years old and I was in 5th grade, and it was Halloween, and I was going to go to my friend's house after school, but I'd forgotten a part of my costume. So I had to go home, but my mom wasn't expecting me to come home and everything. So none of the arrangements were made. So I ended up getting off at my friend's house and then realizing I needed to go back to my house to get something. So I had to walk back to my house from my friend's house, which was a couple miles away. And I did. And as I'm walking back to my house, I had a car pull along the side of the road and ask me if I needed a ride. And it literally was like the pedo van. It was like the beat up white van, the creepy looking guy in it. He's like, "Hey man, it look like you could need a ride." And I'm like, no, I'm good. You know, my house isn't too far from here. He's like, "Oh, where do you live?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's just, it's not too far." And I knew to do that. And then I took off and I ran into, I actually went up to another house like it was my house. I'm like, "Oh, I'm good. I'm here." And I was 11, and that was my father. I heard my father in my head when this guy stopped because my parents had talked to me about it. And I think when it comes to that 0.1% where it's a complete stranger who's abducting a child who has, really bad intentions, there are ways you can protect your kids or get them to protect themselves that basically are going to do enough, I think, to mitigate the problem. My guess would be that the 0.1% are kids who haven't been told that this is an issue or don't know the dangers.
Or they were in an unwinnable situation, right?
Right. And to me, that would be even a smaller percentage of that small percentage. So,
and you don't know. You did the safe thing. I think you did the right thing in that scenario, but that guy totally could have just been trying to give you a ride.
He could have. I think it's better to err on the side of caution in that case. I don't want to think about what it would have been had I actually gotten in that van. But it sticks with me. I mean, I remember it's definitely one of those indelible moments in my life that I'll never forget. So, I mean, it can happen and it does happen. But again, the odds of it happening, and I mean, being a parent is all risk assessment. It's all risk assessment. So, and you have to decide where's your cutoff, right? And for me, I let Melina outside and run around. I tell her, when the street lights come on, that's when you have to come home. And I trust her, and she's 8, and I'm not worried because statistically, I feel pretty secure that my kid's not going to get abducted. But
it's way more likely she'll get hit by a car.
Yes, it is. So, and again, even those statistics are low. And I feel as though at the age my daughter is at, that if I've told her how to be safe and we've had this discussion and I, talked to her about how to be safe in the environment she's in, then I'm secure with that. So
now, when she's out playing out front, how many firearms does she carry?
Oh, at least 3.
Okay, that's good. That makes sense.
Yeah, she's got her, her 22 pistol and her AR-15 and
then a Glock sidearm.
Yeah, right. So
that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, always. I mean, it's America, right?
And the Kevlar, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, plates on the front and back.
Yeah. Okay. And I have a low jack on her, so if she actually is abducted, no.
In the chat.
Yeah, I again, and I don't want to poo-poo it because I think when we have Cameron on, it'll freak you out. I think the bigger problem, because he deals a lot with like the solicited child predators who will meet kids online and do things like that.
I think that's a lot more prevalent than
yes,
yeah.
And the fact that I happened to find Cameron on a community website in a rural upstate New York community that is a tiny community. That you wouldn't think, like, I don't know, in my head, it's like if it's this small rural community, then there's not going to be this stuff going on. Like, what are the odds, right? It's a small town. How could it happen? And not only was there one incident, but there's been several. And this is in a small town. So it would stand to reason that a larger town would have a commensurate number more of these incidents. So that to me was eye-opening and scary. So I'm hoping we can get Cameron on either next week or the week after to share what he does and what the prevalence of that particular problem is. Because he doesn't really deal with abduction. He deals with these predators who usually, I would say it's more of a sexual type of predator than an abduction. Although I would imagine some of these do end up in abductions. So, And again, I wonder what that statistic would be, because you count this person as a stranger now that they've had a rapport online. Like, I don't know how they report that.
Yeah, it's interesting, but I'm excited to talk to him for sure.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting. And I definitely would like to get his take based on what we've said today, too, when it comes to child abductions and, you know, the prevalence of it and stuff. And again, I don't want to be like I'm poo-pooing it, but I just find that the prevalence of it is low enough that if you give your kids the proper kind of understanding of how to handle that situation, then I would feel pretty safe in knowing that your kids are okay. So, and you know, just like I would if I had the proper layers of protection when it came to protecting a child from drowning, that I'd feel safe. But again, knowledge is power. Now, knowledge is safety. So you do need to know what's going on.
Does that mean safety is power?
Sure. If
A equals B equals C?
Yeah, it has to.
Yeah, right. Transitive property. Yeah.
So, but
all right. Well, I'm excited for that. Will you be around this afternoon for a Jeopardy session?
Yes, I'm going to be around. I will join you guys for Jeopardy today.
Did you hear about our monumentous achievement?
No, have you hit 100?
We hit 100.
That's awesome.
So today's Thursday. So Tuesday we hit 100. Yesterday we did 101.
You're unstoppable. When are you getting an award?
Right?
I feel like an award should be sent to you guys.
I feel like we need to we really do need to reach out to the folks at Jeopardy and let them know somehow.
But yeah, what's the deal here? I mean, you guys, you know, you're the 100. I mean, you've now surpassed Ken Jennings.
Yep, Ken Jennings had nothing on us.
Yeah, nothing. I mean, technically, you're 3 people playing as 1, but hey.
I mean, did he win 33 times in a row?
Well, no. You've won 100 times in a row.
Right, but there's 3 of us, so 30. You know, if you split it.
Well, I think he actually won more than 33 times in a row.
Okay. Well, either way, we're doing great.
I think he was in the 40s.
That's pretty great.
Well, I'm gonna check his streak now. Ken Jennings streak. 74.
Jesus Christ. Okay, well.
That was on his own. Well, he's a machine, so.
Yeah.
If you think I'm good, man, I'm sorry, but I that to me is just shows you how he's on a whole different plane.
As they say in the MMA universe, there is levels to this shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother level. He's just 74 consecutive Jeopardy wins. That's crazy.
So I know you have your OCD thing.
Yeah.
I would like to fixate you on, trying to let someone in the either Jeopardy or the Alexa Jeopardy team or whatever know that we've hit 100 and see what kind of if we can get a response back.
All right, I'll do it because I feel like there should be some recognition. You've won 100 in a row. I mean it should have been for 75 because then you beat Ken Jennings.
There can't be that many people who work for the Alexa Jeopardy skill development team, whatever. And
by the way, it is now exclusively Alexa because it used to be on Google and then they got rid of it on Google. So Google doesn't have it anymore. So it is literally just an Alexa thing.
And we've ridden the ups and downs of the app. Like it changes all the time.
Yep.
The intro changes, but we're still with it.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to joining you today to get you to 101,
102,
or 102. Oh yeah. Or to blow it for you.
Possibly, but
it's possible.
Probably not. Yeah.
It's possible.
So on our 100th victory, it was a real humdinger. So as you know, that there is kind of a hack with the Final Jeopardy at the end where they can only bet up to $200, right? So if we're more than 200 up when we go into the final thing, then we're guaranteed victory, right? Which is what we're shooting for every time, just to lock it in, right? We went into the Final Jeopardy down by over 200, or by exactly 200. So we had to get the Final Jeopardy right in order to get 100.
That's high pressure, man.
It was, and we were like, "What? Are we going to die at 99? Is this what's going to happen?" Like, like holy, and we very rarely go into Final Jeopardy like behind, right? That never happens. That otherwise we wouldn't have made it this far. But yeah, we went in. We're like, oh no, like this is bad. We're losing, and thankfully, the Final Jeopardy question was easy, and we crushed it. But there was a moment.
Well,
of
that's really interesting. If it was easy, then how did the group that was ahead of you? How did they not get it? Like, how?
They did, but we bet enough that we exceeded their value. You know?
Interesting. But you would have had to bet more than 200. So there's a problem with their system.
We did. Well, we had to in that one instance. We bet 400 to make sure that we were no matter what.
Now here's my real question. If there is a glitch and that more than 200 doesn't really count on the other end, did they get that they won?
Maybe, yeah.
Right? Like,
so I
don't know,
think
maybe what you've just done is peeled back the curtain and realized that the wizard is not the wizard.
I think that we're playing asynchronously.
I'm certain you are.
Yeah,
I'm certain you are.
So
there's no way. There's no way. There's that number of people to get real-time matchmaking. No way.
So I think we're playing against someone who actually played, but we're playing them asynchronously.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, I look forward to joining you in our asynchronous quest to 102.
Yeah, me too. So that person won or was defeated by somebody else.
There you go.
There's something happening behind me in this window here.
Yes, it's like they're adding some type of film on there, or is it tinting?
You know what's going on, Mike?
They're tinting the windows.
They're tinting the windows. Oh, okay.
I nailed it. Look at that.
You did. You're like the Jews and Jesus.
All right. So today at 3.
Today at 3. I think. Yeah. Let me look at my calendar. But
That should be good.
it should be good. Mike says we're good. All right.
Well, if it changes at all, you guys know you can text me. So
I do know your number actually.
okay, that's good. It's 4.
And 4 is your number. Yeah. And we do have some very exciting announcements for the Respect Life Lifesaver Summit coming up, the Buck Training Summit. And,
when's the website going to go live?
That's a good question. It should be any day now, actually.
Okay, yeah, because I want to share that. So
yeah, it's getting.
I've gotten a lot of questions about it. A lot of people asking.
Very excited. So
that's very good.
Yeah. In fact, we can just talk about business like no one's watching. It's fine. You should be getting an email asking you for the logo for the Respect Life logo. Oh, good. So there you go.
I sent it.
Yep. So we're on the way.
Sounds good.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for watching this riveting episode.
Yes.
Where we talk about ChatGPT and a little bit about abduction, and we will do this next time.
Right. I mean, it's kind of potpourri.
It is. It's like the Montessori of podcasting.
we should call it child safety potpourri.
That's actually what it's called.
Yeah.
CSP. Yeah.
All right. So I will see you at 3:00 today.
All right. Sounds good. I hope you guys will too.
All right.
See you guys later.
Be good.